Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Monday. This is Seattle Now. With a 4-3 win over the Jersey Devils Friday, the Seattle Kraken's debut season is almost over. In a minute, we'll revisit a fun story about one of their fans who made headlines across the country with her keen eye and quick thinking. But first, let's get you caught up. Amazon wants to deliver your packages via drone, but a new investigation shows the company's drone delivery program isn't going well. Bloomberg reports the program has been set back by crashes, safety issues, and staffing problems. Last year, a drone crashed after multiple safety features went wrong and started a 25-acre brush fire. Amazon's ultimate goal for its drone program is to deliver things like snacks in under 30 minutes. President Biden will be here Friday for Earth Day. No details yet on the president's agenda, but the White House says he'll be discussing efforts to grow the clean energy economy. According to the Department of Energy, Washington is one of the top states in the nation when it comes to renewable power. The amount of wind energy we make is growing, and we produce more hydroelectric energy than any other state. And Verizon workers in the Seattle area are joining the budding labor movement. Workers at 2 Verizon stores in Everett and Linwood voted to join the Communication Workers of America over the weekend. The vote was almost unanimous. They're the first Verizon stores outside of New York to join a union. The Seattle Kraken will end their first season with a game on May 1st against the Winnipeg Jets. It wasn't the glowing season the Kraken and many fans were hoping for, but the team brought new energy to the city, and that's pretty cool. They also gave us some good stories, like this one, which is one of our favorite episodes so far this year, about a Kraken fan who saved the life of a rival team's equipment manager. On New Year's Day, the Vancouver Canucks sent out a tweet that began, "Hockey Twitter, we need your help." It was a message from the team's assistant equipment manager, a guy named Brian Red Hamilton. He was looking for someone he says changed his life. But at this point, he didn't have much to go on. All he knew was that this person was sitting behind the Canucks bench when the team came to Seattle for the Kraken's home opener back in October. And he needed to find her so he could say thanks. This fan alerted him that he had a mole on his neck that might be cancer. And it turned out she was right. That fan is Nadia Popovici, a UW grad who was at the game with her mom. Nadia, thanks so much for being here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What a way to start off the new year. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I think this is a good omen. So you wake up Saturday morning, New Year's Day, and you find out the internet is talking about you. Tell me how this played out.
Yeah. So I work at a crisis hotline. I'm a crisis specialist, and I was working the night shift on New Year's Eve. So I didn't get home until around 3 or 4 in the morning. So I knocked out and woke up to a frantic call from my mom. And she just goes, "Nadia, you have no idea what's going on right now." And I'm like, what? I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. She said, "Go check the Kraken's Twitter." And I say, "Oh no, something happened with Tanev. Something else happened with Tanev."
A player,
right? And so I immediately go on, and the first thing that pops up is Red's statement, a beautiful statement. I read it a couple of times, and I'm just sitting there in silence, like, there's no way they're trying to find me. There's no way. And my mom is screaming. She says, "The mole was cancerous and they found it. Everyone's trying to find you. I've been contacted by all these people who want to talk to you." And we both just break down. We're crying, we're screaming. And truly, it was the most hectic morning I've had in a while. But I'm just still so baffled. And wow, what an incredible story.
Okay, but let's back up because all of this actually started at the Kraken's very first home game back in October. How did you manage to see the mole on the back of the assistant equipment manager's neck? Even he says this boggles his mind.
Yeah. So my stepdad is a season ticket holder, and I was so thankful that he invited me that game, and it worked out with my work schedule. And I was also so lucky that I sat where I was, because it happened to be where that my mom and my stepdad, who were sitting right next to me, never saw the mole. And there was just one instance. I guess I'll back up. Red was, I guess, stationed on the opposite side of the bench. So he wasn't even in front of me for the whole game. But occasionally he would come in front of me, hand someone something, throw something over. And during one of those handoffs, he had his arm outstretched in front of him, and the lapel of his coat that he was wearing slipped down a little bit. And he was right in front of me, and I happened to see this mole, and immediately it caught my eye. It was fairly large, so I leaned in close. We're so close to the plexiglass. And I saw some pretty, intense signs of what might be, skin cancer. It was raised, it had discoloration, it was brown and red, and it had an irregular border. And luckily, with my somewhat of a medical background, I was able to identify that as at least concerning signs to go see a doctor, someone much more qualified than I am. So I looked closer, and I kind of turned to my mom and my dad and said, do you see that? And they couldn't see it. He walked away. I tried to get their attention to see if they can see it the rest of the game, and they couldn't. And, I was going back and forth in my head. Should I say something? But I had to trust myself, and I knew what I saw, and I knew that it was concerning. And just being in clinics, I volunteered at an oncology clinic for, many months. And, with skin cancer or any suspicious moles like that, it's very common for doctors to want to cut it out immediately or immediately start doing tests. But his looked completely untouched, which now I know it was. And so I thought there's a very high possibility that Red, or I guess I didn't know him at the time, so this man had no idea that the mole was even there or that the mole was possibly cancerous. And so I sat back and I thought, if that was my dad out there, if that was my mom, if that was me, would I want a stranger to say something? And I thought, worst case scenario, he knows about it or it's nothing. Best case scenario, he goes to a doctor and he gets it removed, or he goes to a doctor and it's nothing. I mean, I really liked those odds. And so I just went from there, trying to find a private and a somewhat sensitive moment in how hectic the hockey game was.
Okay, so you decide you have to tell him somehow, which you did, and here is how he described that moment.
She put her phone up to the glass, and on the phone it said, "The mole on the back of your neck is cancer," and it threw me off. So I kind of just shrugged and kept going, and so I felt my initial response when I found out was I felt bad because I felt like I didn't really give her the time of day.
Nadia, you actually wrote, "The mole on the back of your neck is possibly cancerous. Please go see a doctor." And as we found out, you were right. This was a malignant melanoma, and you actually got to meet Brian in person over the weekend. I'm curious what he said to you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even before I showed him the note, I was thinking, what will he think when he sees this? First of all, it's uncomfortable because someone is pointing out something on your body, whether that's a good or bad thing, Second of all, I'm saying that, you should go see a doctor for this thing on your body, which is scary. It's so scary to hear. And so that's why I wanted to bring it up in a very sensitive way. I heard his press conference before, and he was so apologetic for the way he, acted when he saw the phone. But really, I mean, he acted, I feel like, the way many of us would act. Just, you're at work and you see this from a stranger dressed in all Kraken merch. I mean, you're opposing team's merchandise, and
definitely out of context.
Exactly. And so I don't blame him at all. And I feel like many of us would have acted much worse. So he's such a sweetheart. It was just kind of burning in the back of his mind for several hours afterwards. afterwards. He asked one of his coworkers to take a look. Is there even a mole back there? Because he didn't know there was even a mole.
Wow.
So that was also really incredible to hear. And then later when he went home, he asked his partner to take a look. And she said, yeah, that doesn't look so good. Let's, get you checked out by a doctor. And within a couple days, I'm so glad he has healthcare access, as many Americans don't. I'm so glad that they were able to diagnose, take a biopsy, and remove it even within a couple of days. So that was, truly breathtaking to hear how not only he and his family worked to get him care, but how his healthcare team worked to get this out of him. And now he's cancer free. I'm so gracious to him. He did not have to tell anyone that this happened, but he's been so wonderful and lovely. And I feel like we're connected forever after this moment.
I really appreciate, Nadia, how aware you were of how uncomfortable this potentially could be for someone. You obviously were aware of the awkwardness of this situation. I wonder if you ever hesitated for a moment. You said you liked the odds, but you could have just gone on with your life.
Absolutely. That, honestly, I was very, very on the fence. Some people are saying, oh, she was so confident, but I really wasn't. I thought maybe this was inappropriate of me to say. So yeah, for the entire period, I didn't bring it up till the very last second when everyone was leaving and it was only Red there in front of the glass. And right to the very last second, and after knocking first, and he kind of ignored me the first time, I regretted it. And really, it was a very difficult decision to make, but I just feel like there was a force beyond me that was compelling me to say something. So to hear months later, to wake up on New Year's Day and to have this, grand conclusion to that one decision that I've been, kind of just racking over in my brain, it feels surreal. It feels like a movie, honestly.
It's a fantastic outcome. I am curious what you've learned from this.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been reminded of, just how fleeting we are as humans, and how one thing, Red is a young, healthy guy. And the thought that this one mole, melanoma, could have taken him out in 5 years while he has an entire life, an entire daughter to live for. It has reconnected me with my goals of being a good doctor and having these really sentimental, beautiful one-on-one interactions with my patients. And it feels very affirming to what I want to do. But on a human level, I feel like I've been changed, and I'm just going to appreciate myself and my family's health just so much more after this.
Nadia Popovici, the medical community is going to be very, very fortunate to have you involved. Thanks for doing what you did, and thank you for telling us and sharing this really inspiring story.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. I hope everyone goes home and checks on themselves, checks on their family members, and I hope everyone stays healthy.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now. Hello to Flavia in Seattle, Laura in Bothell, and Liz in Ballard. Thanks for supporting the show. We cannot make Seattle Now without you. If you like the show and want to contribute, we'll give you a shout out in our show credits. Find the link in the show notes. Jason Pagano produced today's show with help from Clare McGrane. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tomorrow.